So these are the 6 books that I picked from last month's TBR, or the TBR jar, basket. Wow. Hello everybody, my name is Kelsey, and we're about to get very, very nerdy with my August TBR. So that's right, it is time for another round of the TBR basket, or the basket of reads as we call it here, and I'm excited, but I'm also stressed because that means I have to talk about last month, and it did not go as well as I wanted it to. In August, I will be sort of kind of possibly participating in a readathon. If you guys have been on YouTube for a while, or my channel for a while, you know that during the months of August and April, I think they are when the Magical Readathon is taking place. That was created by G over at Book Roast. She has kind of taken a step back this month because of everything that has happened. So she's not really hosting. She did come out with prompts if you wanted to participate and you wanted to just like have an extra challenge this month, but she's basically going to revamp everything, and then next year is going to start all new with basically an entire new universe that she created. And I am incredibly excited about that, and I do totally understand people not wanting to participate in this. I think I'm saying low-key because like I like having the extra challenges, and I've been doing it since it literally started. And because this community within the Magical Readathon, like this little bitty readathon community, is so incredibly loving and supportive of one another, that like this community specifically is no longer about the books or the world that the readathon is based on. It's like, it's become our own thing. And so I think just having that extra oomph on top of the already ridiculous TBR that I'm going to have would just be kind of fun. I'll leave the announcement. It's not really a video. She kind of talks about it at the end of a vlog, so I'll leave that down below if you want to see it. But I think I'm going to have an extra like layer on top, but I'm not gonna like vlog it. I'm not gonna be crazy. I'll be chill. It'll be chill. Like I won't be extra pushing myself beyond like what's gonna be in the TBR basket picks, but that's kind of what my mind's all over the place about this. We shall see. But I'm gonna do like the normal TBR basket now, and then at the end I will go through some of the prompts that like are required for me as far as like the career that I wanted to do in like April. So before we do anything, let's look at how last month went. I can already tell you not great. These are what we picked last month during the basket of reads. We've got This Is What I Know About Art by Kimberly Drew, which was to read a recent purchase. We've got The Witches of St. Petersburg by Imogen Edward Jones, which was to read a book inspired by history. Always Never Yours by Emily Wibberley and Austin Sigmund Broca, which I believe was for contemporary. The 48 by Donna Hose, which was to read a book with a number in the title. Clap When You Land by Elizabeth Acevedo, which was to read a book that you're going to listen to the audiobook for, and Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson, which was to read a library book. I have completed 3, This Is What I Know About Art, Always Never Yours, and Clap When You Land. I'm currently in the middle of the 48 and Mistborn, and I haven't even started The Witches of St. Petersburg, so I think I can finish these 2 by the end of the month, but I doubt that I'm going to get to that by the end of the month. So let's see what all of the roles are. I think I'm going to add a punishment roll, and then if it's like really mean, we won't use it, just because I am trying to match things in with the Magical Readathon prompts. But let's see. We'll say I'm going to do a punishment roll, and then if it's terrible, we won't use it, because it's my game and I can make my own rules. So let's do that. So with that being said, let's just go straight into my TBR jars. Let's do the nonfiction. No, let's do I can never remember. Let's do the fiction first, because I feel like we did the nonfiction first last time, but I don't actually know. Anyway, let's see. 1 and 2. We have Upside Down, A Darker Shade of Magic, and You Owe Me a Murder. So the first one we picked up was A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This is the first in a series that like I've been wanting to read for a while, but I also haven't ever read anything by her before. I've got it on audiobook, so like maybe I'll start the series and love it. We'll see. And then the other one I got, I think I've gotten before. Wow, these books look the same in color. It's You Owe Me a Murder, and this is like a thriller, I think I want to say. Totally different, but they look very similar in color. We'll see if those fit any of the prompts. Please fit. And then let's do nonfiction, which I grabbed like 10 things. There we go. Please be thin books. We like thin books here. Jane Austen's England. Oh, that's like a textbook. And then Awaken. So the first one, oopsies, let me get in frame. The first one that I picked up was Jane Austen's England by Maggie Lane. This is straight up a textbook about England during the time of Jane Austen. So like, I'm really intrigued by this, but I'm also afraid that it's going to be super dry. But then I also have this one, which I'm excited about as well, but it's called Awaken by Priscilla Shirer. It is a 30-day, like, Christian, I wouldn't say Bible study, but like, it's a 30-day, no, not even, it's 90 days. It's basically like a book that you fill out for 90 days, which is great, and I would like to do it. I don't think this was the best decision to put into this jar because, like, it's 90 days, so I wouldn't be able to finish it in 1 month anyway. So, we'll see. Let's see what the TBR basket has in store, and then we can decide. First dip in is this one. Let's see. There we go. All right. Read a hyped book everyone is talking about. So the very first pick was to read a hyped book. And I'm so excited because that's going to be A Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow. I believe that this is ridiculously hyped right now, but also like it's hyped by me to myself, even if it's not like hyped by the entire world. But I think it's hyped by the entire world. I'm reading it. So basically, from what I understand, this is a book about black mermaids or sirens. I've heard both, so I'm not entirely sure. I'm very excited because this cover is gorgeous. I love the idea of like mermaids and sirens and society having to hide who they are because they're not accepted, which hits a lot of things right now. And then on top of that, them being black, I think it's going to like tackle police brutality and racism a lot in this book. But I'm excited, and it's gorgeous, and now I can see if the inside is as pretty as what is on the outside. My prediction is that it is. Okay, pick number 2. I like this one. That one's nice. Reread a favorite. So the second one is to reread a favorite, so of course I chose the smallest one I possibly could, and that is Bull by David Eliot. This is a kind of poetic retelling of the Minotaur story from Greek mythology, and I've talked about this recently because I just came out with that like books I want to reread video, and this one was on there because I didn't love it the first time I read it, but I loved this author's other work. So I want to see if it's just this one isn't quite right or if I read it at the wrong time. It's really thin. It's like poetry. It's very, simple to get through. So we're gonna go with that one. Third one. Read a book set in a cold place. So the next rule is read a book set in a cold place. This was the hardest thing to find because, like, I don't have anything. So why did I put this in the basket? I don't know. I may be cheating just slightly, but I'm going to go with Invictus by Ryan Groudon. This one is like a time travel book where it follows this boy whose parents are from different times. He's the son of a time traveler and a gladiator living in ancient Rome. So there's time travel in here, but it does mention in the synopsis that they at one point go into the time of Titanic, and we know that Titanic crashed into an iceberg, which is cold. So that's what I'm banking on. I was trying to find books that would have been set during like winter at some point, or like were during the school year and like would pass through winter, but like nothing. I got nothing. So we're gonna go with this one. I'm picking at straws here, but like I'm actually excited. I kind of forgot that I had this book, and I'm excited to see where this story goes. Third one. Let's go to the bottom. There we go. Read a poetry collection. The next prompt was to read a poetry collection, so I'm going to be reading When the World Did End by Caroline Kaufman. This is like her second poetry collection, but I read the first one because it was my roommate's favorite. Like, she really liked this author's poetry, and so she read one of my favorite books, or poetry books, and I read one of hers, and then I got this book for her for like Christmas or her birthday last year or something, and then of course she went out and bought it for herself. Because we have one mind. So I just own this book now, and I wanted to read it. But she started on Instagram, I want to say. And then, yeah, started on Instagram. And then now she writes her own stuff. Which is why, if you look under her name, it's got her, like, little hashtag name. Which is Poetic Poison. But it's a poetry collection. I'm excited to see if I like her second stuff as much as I like the first one. Next one. Oh, it's a long one. Read a book featuring mental health representation. The next one is to read a book featuring mental health representation. And this one was hard for me as well because, like, not a lot of synopsi, whatever, really tell you that. You just kind of find it out as you're reading. So this one, I think, based on the plot and a little bit on the inside, because it does say that one of our characters is very anxious a lot and is a neurotic insomniac. So I would assume that that may fall under that. But the one that I've decided to go with is Where I End and You Begin by Preston Norton. This is like a Freaky Friday situation where our main character, Ezra, yes, he is like in love with this girl at school, but her best friend Winona, which is the other main character, is like not having it. And then for some reason they kind of like switch bodies sometimes. So like every other day they're themselves, and the next day they're the other person, and then they're themselves again, and then the other person. And so it's a lot, but it gives them the chance to get to know each other. It also gives, you know, Winona the chance to help Ezra with the girl, and then it also gives like Ezra a chance to help Winona with her crush on his best friend Holden. But the thing that I'm the most excited about, which is what really drew me to it, is it says at the bottom, Ezra wishes he could be more like Winona's badass version of Ezra, but he also realizes he feels more like himself when being Winona than he has in a long time. So I'm wondering if there's going to be some kind of transgender rep in here as well. They don't say it, but I'm curious. So I'm excited to give this one a shot. And the last sixth. Read a standalone. And the very last book is to read a standalone, which actually worked out okay. So we're going to use the punishment pick. And for this one, I'm actually going to be reading an ARC copy that I got from a NetGalley, because it actually comes out on the 3rd of August, and like I very much need to read it. So this will be like the first thing I read in the month, and that is Roaring by Lindsay Duga. This sounds really fascinating, and I'm not entirely sure when it's set, but I really want to say it's set in like 1920s. But it basically follows our main character named Colt, who is like part of the FBI, but he doesn't, you know, hunt only mobsters. He also hunts monsters. So like he hunts sirens, and for some reason he is immune to a siren's call, and so he's basically been following the siren forever, who's been silent for a very long time, and then she kind of like lets her voice go, and I don't know what's gonna happen. It seems like a lot of mystery, because like he doesn't even know why he's not under the siren's control when they sing, and like I don't think she even knows that she's a siren. So like there's a lot there, but I'm excited. It sounds really interesting. It's definitely out of like my comfort zone, but it feels like historical fantasy, and I really like siren stories, so like yay. So now that I've got all those, I'm gonna go through the prompts that I'm going to be reading for the Magical Readathon, but I'm only going to be talking about the ones, like I said, that are required, so I'll mention the class and like which ones are required, and then there's a couple books that do fit prompts that didn't fit in with the required things, which I'll mention. I'm making this more complicated. Let me just go through that. So the first class that I need to take is arithmancy, but I only have to do the first prompt in that, which is to read a nonfiction. So I'm going to be picking up Jane Austen's England by Maggie Lane. It's simple, it's thin, it might be the most boring thing ever, but I am excited about learning about England during her time, because like I feel like I know some things, but like I think this will help a lot. So that's the arithmancy read. So the next class that I need to take is Defense Against Dark Arts, and the first prompt is Boggart, read a horror thriller. So I don't like horror books. Like I don't like being scared. I don't like scary books. I don't read them. However, the book that I picked is technically horror, but let me explain. So I picked Monstrous Volume 1. This is a graphic novel that like I almost know nothing about, but I think our main character is like part robot. But on the back, it says that this is a steampunk horror story. I'm a little hesitant going into this one, but like I think reading it during the day, and the fact that it's like already has pictures in it so I can see what's coming up and I don't have to imagine it myself, I think we'll be okay. Also, it's thin and we need to get some thin things in this TBR. So this is what I'm choosing for this. Then I also need to read one more for this class, which is the second one, which is Capus or Water Demon, which is a book with demons or water themed in it. So I'm choosing Song Below Water by Bethany C. Morrow because sirens, water. Also, the cover is quite obviously them in water. And they also live in Portland, I want to say, which is by the water. So all of the things work. That's it for that prompt, but the third one in that prompt I also have to read this month, but it's not required for the readathon. So that is Red Caps, read an epic fantasy. So I'm going to choose my TBR fiction jar pick, which is A Darker Shade of Magic. Then moving on to potions, I have 2 books there that I need to read. And the first one is Ingredients Flying Seahorse, with the word sky on the title or in the cover. So I'm going to be choosing Invictus by Ryan Groudon because I don't know if you can tell, but that's definitely a city landscape. So to me, this is all sky. And then the second prompt that I need to read is Doxicide, which is the author's name has to start with a D, whether that's the first name or the last name. So I'll be choosing Roaring for that because it's written by Lindsay Duga. So we'll choose that one. And then the last class that I need to take is Transfiguration because did I even mention what I want to be? I want to be a Transfiguration professor with an Animagus training on top of that. Anyway, so Transfiguration, I have to read all 3. So the first one for that is Lapophora Spell, which is an animal on the cover or in the title. I'll be choosing Bull for that because we've got a bull on the cover for that. And then the second one is, I can never pronounce any of these words, Draconiphorus Spell, which is a book with dragons or fire. This one is a stretch, but hear me out. So I'll be choosing the next in the series of Unfortunate Events, which is the 9th one, the Carnivorous Carnival, because if they're at a carnival, it's kind of like a traveling circus. There's gonna be fire there somewhere. Now, it's not on the cover per se, but if I remember correctly, it's a carnival. There's gonna be fire somewhere. Ha! Chapter 12. There's a fire. Boom diggity. So, that's what I'm choosing. The last one, which is the O, which is Duro, to read a hardcover or a book with hard topics in it. So I will be reading Where I End and You Begin by Preston Norton because it is a hardcover, but I think it's going to hit some hard topics in there as well. And then if I want to be like super extra and also include mermaid linguistics on top of the stuff, because I'm crazy, then I only need 2 more books. And the first one is Puffafa Pods, which is flowers on the cover. So I'll be using this one, When the World Didn't End, because in the tree you can see there are flowers. And then the only other thing that I need is Nettle Plant, and that is a book that might be impactful. So I'll be reading another arc for this because NetGalley's crazy and is letting me have arcs because why are they trusting me? So that one is going to be Who I Was With Her by Nita Tyndall, I think is how you pronounce it. But basically it follows our main character whose name is Corrine, who has been in a secret relationship. She doesn't want to tell anybody that she's bisexual, and so she's been in a secret relationship for a year, and then the girl that she is in the relationship with dies, and she can't really openly grieve because no one knew that they were together. And so the only person that she can actually grieve with is the girlfriend who died's ex-girlfriend, and so they kind of are there for each other, but then I think there's also going to be feelings between them and how complicated that is on top of all of the grief. So I've been seeing this one circling for a while, and I just saw it on NetGalley, and like the way I am with NetGalley is I just kind of request things that I'm very interested in, but I don't actually think they're going to give it to me. But they did, so I'm going to read that one because I believe that one comes out in September. Comes out in September 15th. But this is the general. And there's 11 books, including the 2 ebooks that I want to read. So, not terrible, but also we've got a couple thick boys, so we'll see how this works. So, thank you guys so much for watching. I very much. Have you forgotten to be a person? But thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you have what you're planning on reading in August, if there's anything that you're like incredibly excited about. Let me know down below. But that's really all I've got for you guys. So if you did like this video, make sure to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe down below if you aren't already part of this awesome growing family. I've also got all my social media down there as well if you would like to follow along on any of those. And I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!